G'day guys, welcome to the VFL match report for Blue Abroad. I'm Paul Sebastiani here to do it all again after what was a bit of a head scratcher of a performance at Preston City Oval against the Northern Bullants. It was poor, and poor is the only way to really describe this loss against the Northern Bullants. We ended up going down 14-16-100 to our reserves 10-8-68 in what was probably our worst team performance of the year against the Northern Bullants side, who were yet to win a game before the weekend. And it was I was down there at Preston City Oval, and it was not great, unfortunately. So Northern Bullants, kudos to them. Obviously, I've got the beanie on, and it was a fantastic win for a club that was on the brink of not existing last year. Obviously, the Carlton FC alignment was detached as a result of the economic downfall from last year. But credit to them, they did a fantastic job on the weekend to win by 32 points, and it was a super disappointing display from our boys on the weekend. Just a real lifeless and soulless performance against a Northern Bullants team who were playing with the ant spirit, so they call it. There was one main standout from a Carlton listed perspective that I will go over now. Sam Ramsey was great over the weekend in the heart of midfield with 29 disposals, 20 kicks, 9 handballs coming from that, and 5 tackles as well. So he continues to trend upwards in the VFL competition, which is great for our AFL team, I think, because I think we are in desperate need of a really good left-footed midfielder. And I'm not saying that Sam Ramsey is going to be a superstar by any stretch of the imagination, but I think his development over the last sort of 3 months has really started to show a lot of people that he's not there just to make up the numbers. I'd love to see him get a game towards the back end of this year just to see what he's got at the level. I'd love to see him be given a shot, because this is his it's his second year at the club, and as I said, I think he's developing really nicely down at VFL level. So he was a really big positive out of the game against the Bullants side, who had a chip on their shoulder on the weekend. Now, from another standout from our point of view was Josh Honey. Just wasn't able to hit the scoreboard. He kicked 3 behinds from his 15 disposals, but he looked really dangerous all day, as he has all year. Really, it's a surprise to me that he hasn't been given a game this year, especially given the opinion that Daniel O'Keefe has of him, our VFL coach. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next month, especially now that we know the news that Mark Murphy has gone down with the calf injury, and we know that he's sort of been playing that half forward role, which I think Josh Honey can come in and potentially play this week if the club do so desire to go down that path. I don't think the game was really played in his style, and I think the tight confines of Preston City Oval didn't really suit his strong running capacity. And that is by no means any excuse to be let off for missing chances as well and not finishing your work. But I just feel the open plains of an AFL field will benefit this young fella immensely, as will the service of AFL standard footballers too. So again, him and Ramsey are ones to keep an eye on down at VFL level. 2 very big green ticks go next to their names after that game, despite the disappointing loss. Matthew Cottrell, I think he may have just found his level, to be honest. 18 touches and a goal, nowhere near good enough to get back into the senior side. Jordan Boyd, well, this is just, the Carlton curse just continues, unfortunately. He had 14 touches, but he went off with a knee injury, unfortunately. And we don't know how long he's going to be out for. It could be a handful of weeks. But yeah, the 2 fellas we've recruited in this mid-season draft have gone down with injuries, which is unfortunate. But that's just that's just the way that the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. Brodie Kemp had 13 touches, was okay defensively, he just continues to ply away. We all know he's coming back from that ACL and from that ankle injury he sustained in the preseason of 2021. So, look, again, he clearly has a talent to make it at AFL level. I mean, we picked him up with a first-round pick. So obviously the club sees something there. And you know, we look back at his first game against Box Hill upon return from that ankle injury. And you know, he showed his worth, I think, in that game. And, you know, he needs to get a good block of fitness under his belt. Game fitness is what we're talking about, not training and running laps on at Icon Park. Match fitness when an opposition is hunting you. So, again, probably not a game that he could really hang his hat off, that he could really hang his hat on. But look, it's something that it's the base that he continues to build, which is what the club would be looking at. And I think it's what we need to look at as well. Tom Williamson, he's the next player that I've got jotted down. He had a really good game against Port Melbourne in the game that I called last week, where he defended so resolutely. But this game, his head just wasn't in the game. He only had 13 touches. He gave away a lot of silly free kicks. And there's a little bit of banter with him and Ben Silvani as well. And I just, whether or not that put him off, I don't know. But he's lost about 5 or 6 lengths, this fella. And everyone was so excited when he was on the verge of coming back from his back injury. And he just hasn't really hit his straps this year at all, unfortunately. And when he's come into the AFL side, he's looked a shadow of his former best, really. So, look, again, not a game that he is going to be coming back into the senior side with, I wouldn't have thought. And the other one who was really disappointing, probably more disappointing than Tom Williamson, given the draft pick we gave up for this fellow, was Lockie O'Brien. His career is at a big crossroads at the moment. He only had 12 disposals, and there are a few passages of play where I was just left shaking my head thinking, well, are you going to make it, son? That is the big question on this fella now. I just don't think he has. I don't think he has the belief in himself now. And he was besieged upon by a Northern Bullants midfield who were just tougher and stronger on the day. 12 disposals for a first round pick who has been in the system for a handful of years now and he hasn't really had too many injuries to really provide an excuse for a performance like that. And look, it's as I said, his career is at the crossroads, and I think the club are in a tough spot whether or not they decide to give him a contract or whether they decide to delist him or trade him. I don't think he'd be worth a lot at the trade table given the form he's shown this year. So it's unfortunate, but he would need to be doubling and tripling his output from a disposal point of view and a game influence point of view if he is any chance of getting anywhere near, maybe an extended bench, let alone, being a bona fide AFL footballer. Luke Parkes, only the 11 touches. Look, it was a tough day for him because, the midfield was well beaten on the day. And it was hard to defend the way that the Northern Bullants were moving the football, and kudos to them too. But 11 touches, look, he just needs to continue to compete, which he did on the weekend. But, whether or not he's got the class to really make it at AFL level, I doubt it. But again, we saw signs from him this year, which is always a positive as well. And now it's just about a block of work, really, and him continuing to defend hard and to really win your own football. I know you've got to be able to lock down, and that should be one of your primary targets when you actually go out on the football field as one of those key defenders, and that's to lock down your opponent. But you've still got to be able to win the football and rebound in the modern game, which I don't think he has that at the moment. So whether or not that gets developed into his game, I'm not sure, but again, not a game that he will be coming back into the senior side with. Corey Durden probably had one of his better games for the year. Had 10 touches, kicked a goal, 5 tackles, worked hard all day, continues to harass and pressure his opponents, and that's what we're going to get from him, really. I don't think he'll be playing senior football in the next month. I wouldn't have thought. But again, if he continues to work as hard as he is, and he continues to apply the pressure to opposition, then it will hold him in good stand for the back half of this year and hopefully into the early parts of next season. So I'll just be putting an asterisk on his name for the time being, because his hunt and endeavour for the peel and for the man and for the contest is something that really stands out at VFL level. And Jack Carroll was super quiet. Only had the 9 touches after having probably one of the or probably his best performance in the VFL last week against Port Melbourne. Couldn't really get his hands on it, and was part of a midfield group that was probably well beaten on the day, I would have thought. He needs to go back to last week and look at what he did really well, getting his hands in and around the clearance, in and around the stoppage, and winning clearance and thrusting us forward, from the stoppage as well. So that's something he needs to continue to work on, and finding the pill a lot more than what he did on the weekend is something he needs to work on too. So, look, that's a wrap for the Carlton listed boys. Of the VFL listed boys, look, Waller kicked 3, Crocker kicked 2, and James Parsons, the former Cat, was okay as well. He got up in the mid-20 touches. I think he had about 24, 26 disposals, something like that. A disappointing day for the boys. It was a real lackluster, soulless, lifeless performance, really, against a team that they should have known was going to come out and have a chip on their shoulder, given the history between the two clubs. And it was just disappointing to not see buy-in from a lot of guys out there. And I stood there, in the forward pocket at Preston City Oval, and just had my head in my hands for the majority of that game, which was super disappointing. So they were on the precipice of making the 8 and having a good percentage boost if they really applied themselves against the Northern Bullants team, who have only really formulated themselves for sort of a 3-month preseason, and no AFL affiliation. It was a very disappointing loss. So look, we play Coburg this weekend. That game may be at Highgate Reserve in Craigieburn, which is where Coburg played their last home game. So if that game does drop on the Sunday, I'll hopefully be able to get down there and watch the boys. So that's a wrap for this weekend's Reserves Report. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at PaulSeb05, Instagram and Facebook as well. Make sure you like and subscribe on the Blue Broad page. And Tuesday at 8 p.m, the Jumper Punch as well. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m, the new episode's just gone out too. So be sure to tune into that on the Blue Broad page and like us and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. That's the Jumper page at Instagram and Facebook. But that's a wrap for the VFL Reserves. If you've got any questions, please leave them below. I'll do my best to try and answer them as best as I can. But for now, we'll see you next week, and all the best.